He worked the night shift at Riverside Power Station for 11 years, checking circuits and maintaining generators with methodical precision. Coworkers knew him as Ray, the quiet electrician who always fixed problems others couldn't solve. Until the night cyber terrorists launched a coordinated attack on the power grid. And Ray's response revealed 19 years as a Navy nuclear electronics technician who'd protected nuclear, submarines and strategic facilities from electronic warfare. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we begin this electrifying story of hidden expertise and critical infrastructure protection, tell me in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe heroes protect us in ways we never see, hit that subscribe button. Petty Officer First Class Ray Castellanos had been working at Riverside Power Station for exactly 11 years, 2 months, and 16 days, every night from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. He'd patrol the facility, monitor electrical systems, and maintain the generators that kept 3 counties powered. At 49, Ray was the most experienced electrician on the night crew. Management trusted him with the most complex electrical problems, the most sensitive equipment repairs, and the most critical system maintenance. He never called in sick, never left early, and somehow always knew exactly what was wrong with malfunctioning equipment. Ray's got a sixth sense about electrical systems, his supervisor would say. Hand him a multimeter and he can diagnose problems that would take other techs hours to find. To his coworkers, Ray was just their reliable night shift electrician, a quiet man who kept the lights on while the city slept. He worked alone most nights, preferred minimal conversation, but always helped when other techs needed assistance with difficult repairs. What they didn't know was why Ray understood electrical systems with impossible precision, why his troubleshooting methods seemed almost military in their systematic approach, or why he treated power plant security protocols with the seriousness of national defense. Ray Castellanos wasn't just a power plant electrician. From 1995 to 2014, he was Petty Officer First Class Raymond Castellanos, United States Navy nuclear electronics technician, submarine service. 5 deployments on nuclear-powered attack submarines. Specialized training in electronic warfare countermeasures. And classified work protecting naval nuclear facilities from cyber and electronic attacks. But Riverside County didn't need to know that. They just needed someone who could keep the power flowing reliably. That was enough for Ray. Thursday, September 21st, started like every other night shift. Ray arrived at 10:45 p.m., reviewed the day shift's maintenance logs, and began his systematic inspection of the power station's electrical systems. Everything appeared normal: generators running efficiently, distribution systems stable, security systems operational. At 12:23 a.m., Ray noticed the first anomaly: voltage fluctuations in grid section 7 that didn't match normal load patterns. Civilian electricians might have dismissed it as routine variation, but Ray's nuclear electronics training recognized something more serious. He pulled up the computerized monitoring system and saw patterns that triggered military instincts he hadn't used in civilian life. The fluctuations weren't random, they were systematic, coordinated, and showed characteristics of electronic interference, control. "This is Ray. I'm seeing unusual voltage patterns in section 7. Running full diagnostics." "Copy." "Ray, anything we should worry about?" Ray studied the data with expertise that went far beyond civilian power plant training. His Navy experience with electronic warfare gave him insights into interference patterns that most utility workers would never recognize. Control. These patterns look like external electromagnetic interference, possibly intentional. "Hey, are you saying we're under some kind of attack?" Before Ray could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Not equipment alarms, cybersecurity alerts indicating unauthorized access attempts to the power grid's computer systems. Ray's nuclear electronics training recognized the coordinated nature immediately. Electromagnetic interference combined with cyber attacks meant someone was trying to take down the power grid using military-grade electronic warfare techniques. Ray's response to the coordinated attack revealed training and experience that went far beyond civilian electrical work. His systematic analysis of the electromagnetic interference patterns showed expertise in electronic warfare that amazed the power plant's security team. Control. We're dealing with coordinated cyber and electronic attacks. Someone's trying to overload our systems while simultaneously infiltrating our computer networks. Ray, how can you know that? 19 years Navy nuclear electronics. I've seen these attack patterns before, different targets, same methods. Ray began implementing countermeasures that weren't part of standard power plant protocols. His Navy training had prepared him for exactly this scenario, protecting critical infrastructure from electronic warfare attacks. Control, I need you to isolate sections 3, 7, and 12 from the main grid. We're going to compartmentalize the system to prevent cascade failures. Ray, that's not standard procedure. Control, standard procedure doesn't cover electronic warfare attacks on critical infrastructure. Trust me, I've protected nuclear facilities from these same tactics, as Ray worked. His military background became apparent to the facility's security coordinator, who was monitoring the emergency response. Ray, this is Security Chief Martinez. What's your assessment of the threat? Chief, we're dealing with professionals using military-grade electronic warfare techniques. They're trying to cause cascade failures that would black out half the state. How do you know about electronic warfare? Navy nuclear electronics technician. 19 years, submarine service. Classified electronic countermeasures. This attack is textbook electronic warfare. Ray's approach to defending the power grid revealed protocols learned in nuclear submarine service where electronic attacks could mean loss of life for the entire crew. His systematic response to the coordinated assault impressed even federal cybersecurity experts, who arrived to assist. Ray, Chief Martinez observed, you're not just fixing electrical problems, you're conducting some kind of electronic defense operation. Chief, on nuclear submarines, electronic warfare attacks are life or death situations. Same principles apply to critical infrastructure. You compartmentalize systems, isolate compromised sections, and maintain operational capability under attack. Ray implemented defensive measures that weren't part of civilian power plant training, but which proved crucial for maintaining grid stability during the sophisticated attack. Control, I'm rerouting power through backup channels while we trace the source of the electromagnetic interference. Military electronic warfare doctrine says the attack will escalate in waves. Ray, how do you know what they'll do next? Because I've been on both sides of these operations. Navy nuclear facilities face constant electronic warfare threats. The attack patterns are predictable if you know what to look for. As Ray worked to defend the power grid, federal agents arrived and immediately recognized his expertise exceeded normal civilian capabilities. FBI agent Sarah Chen approached Ray. Sir, I understand you're coordinating our defense against this attack. Agent Chen, I'm implementing electronic countermeasures based on Navy nuclear electronics training. The attackers are using military-grade techniques. Sir, what's your background? Petty Officer First Class. Navy nuclear electronics. 19 years protecting nuclear submarines and naval facilities from electronic warfare. Agent Chen understood immediately. We need your expertise to coordinate the broader defense. Ray's defense of the power grid expanded beyond the immediate facility to coordinating with federal authorities protecting the entire regional electrical system. His military expertise proved crucial for understanding and countering the sophisticated attack. Agent Chen, Ray explained while monitoring multiple systems, the electromagnetic interference is designed to mask the cyber intrusion, while we're focused on the electronic attacks. They're infiltrating the computer networks controlling other power plants. How do you know their strategy? Navy electronic warfare training teaches you to think like the enemy. These attackers are using classic military tactics: distraction, infiltration, coordinated assault on multiple targets. Ray's systematic approach to the electronic defense revealed training that went far beyond civilian electrical work. He was conducting electronic warfare countermeasures with the same precision he'd used to protect nuclear submarines. Agent Chen, I need access to the regional grid monitoring system. This attack is bigger than just our facility. That requires federal clearance. I held top secret clearance for 19 years. Nuclear electronics technicians are cleared for sensitive compartmented information. Within minutes, Ray was coordinating defense of the entire regional power grid. using electronic warfare expertise that federal agents relied on to counter the attack. Ray, Agent Chen observed, "You're running this defense operation like a military electronic warfare specialist, Agent Chen." "That's exactly what I am. Different uniform now. Same mission: protect critical infrastructure from electronic attacks." Ray's leadership of the electronic defense operation revealed the full scope of his Navy nuclear electronics background. Federal cybersecurity experts found themselves following his tactical guidance for countering military-grade electronic warfare. All stations, Ray coordinated over secure communications. The attack is entering Phase 3. Expect coordinated electromagnetic pulse attempts on substations throughout the region. Ray, how can you predict their tactics? Asked the Federal Cybersecurity Coordinator. Navy nuclear electronics training includes offensive and defensive electronic warfare. I know these tactics because I've used them in naval operations. Ray's systematic coordination of the regional defense proved crucial as the attack escalated exactly as he'd predicted. His military expertise enabled countermeasures that civilian cybersecurity teams wouldn't have known to implement. Agent Chen, Ray called out, "We need to physically disconnect 3 regional substations in the next 4 minutes, or they'll cascade failure through the entire grid." Ray, that would black out to counties. Controlled blackout for 4 hours versus uncontrolled blackout for 4 weeks. Military electronic warfare creates exactly this kind of choice. Ray's tactical decision-making under pressure revealed expertise forged in submarine service where electronic failures could doom the entire crew. His coordination saved the regional power grid from collapse. Federal coordinators. This is Ray. Attack neutralized. All systems stabilizing. Electromagnetic interference eliminated. Cyber intrusions contained. Agent Chen approached Ray with new respect. "Petty Officer Castellanos, your military expertise just prevented a regional catastrophe." As federal investigators analyzed the attack and Ray's successful defense, the full scope of his military background became clear. The quiet night shift electrician had coordinated a defense operation that impressed naval electronic warfare specialists. "Ray," Agent Chen asked during the briefing, "what was your specific role in Navy nuclear electronics?" "Electronic warfare countermeasures, submarine defensive systems, protection of naval nuclear facilities, specialized in detecting and countering electronic attacks on critical systems." "Where did you serve?" "USS Virginia, USS Texas, USS North Carolina, nuclear attack submarines, plus classified shore assignments protecting naval nuclear installations." The federal team realized they'd been working with someone whose expertise exceeded most military electronic warfare specialists currently in service. "Petty Officer," the Federal Cybersecurity Coordinator asked, "why are you working at a civilian power plant, sir?" "After 19 years protecting nuclear submarines, I wanted to continue protecting critical infrastructure in civilian service. Different mission, same responsibility." Ray's coworkers at the power plant were amazed as they learned about his military background and the sophisticated attack he'd just defeated. "Ray," his supervisor said, "you never mentioned Navy nuclear service. Didn't seem relevant to maintaining generators and checking circuits. But tonight it was relevant to protecting the power grid." Ray's successful defense of the regional power grid led to immediate recognition from federal authorities and an offer to consult on national critical infrastructure protection. Petty Officer Castellanos, a Department of Homeland Security official, said, "Your expertise is exactly what we need for protecting power grids nationwide. Sir, I'm committed to Riverside Power Station and serving this community. But I could provide consulting on electronic warfare threats to critical infrastructure." Ray developed training programs that adapted Navy nuclear electronics expertise for civilian power plant personnel, sharing military knowledge that enhanced national infrastructure security. "The key," Ray explained to power plant technicians from across the region, "is understanding that modern attacks on power grids use military electronic warfare tactics. Civilian electrical training doesn't prepare you for that level of threat." His courses taught utility workers to recognize electronic warfare signatures, implement military-style countermeasures, and coordinate with federal authorities during attacks. One trainee asked, "How often do power grids face military-level attacks?" "More often than people realize, but most utility workers aren't trained to recognize or counter them. That's what we're changing." Ray continued working night shifts at Riverside Power Station while consulting with federal authorities on electronic warfare threats to critical infrastructure. His military expertise enhanced both local and national security in ways the public never saw. Ray, Chief Martinez reflected, that attack could have blacked out half the state. Chief, electronic warfare against critical infrastructure is a constant threat. Military training teaches you to be ready for attacks that civilian procedures don't anticipate. Ray's reputation as a military electronic warfare specialist led to consulting with power companies nationwide. But he remained committed to his night shift role, protecting his local community. "Why stay at the power plant?" Agent Chen asked during a follow-up visit. Agent Chen, protecting this community's power supply is just as important as protecting naval nuclear facilities. Critical infrastructure defense is national security, whether it's military or civilian. Ray never talked about classified submarine operations, sensitive naval nuclear facilities, or the electronic warfare missions that forged his expertise. When coworkers asked about military service, he gave the same answer: "Served my time. Now I serve the community." 2 years after the electronic warfare attack, Ray's expertise had transformed how Riverside Power Station approached cybersecurity and electronic threats. His military knowledge enhanced the facility's defenses far beyond civilian standards. The power plant now served as a regional training center for electronic warfare countermeasures. With Ray's Navy expertise protecting critical infrastructure across multiple states, Ray, the plant manager, said, "Your military background has revolutionized how we think about security. Sir, electronic warfare threats to civilian infrastructure require military-level defenses. We're just applying Navy nuclear electronics training to power grid protection." Ray's influence extended beyond technical capabilities to a new understanding among utility workers that they were protecting national security infrastructure that required military-level vigilance. "Every power plant worker," Ray explained to trainees, "is protecting critical infrastructure that enemies want to destroy. That's a military-level responsibility that requires military-level expertise." Ray's reputation as a former Navy nuclear electronics technician led to coordination with military cyber warfare units protecting critical infrastructure from foreign electronic attacks. Petty Officer Castellanos, a Navy cyber warfare specialist, said, "Your civilian position gives you insights into vulnerabilities we don't see from the military side. Commander, civilian critical infrastructure uses the same electronic systems as military facilities, but with less sophisticated defenses. The vulnerabilities are significant." Ray served as a bridge between military cyber warfare capabilities and civilian infrastructure protection, translating Navy electronic warfare expertise for utility companies nationwide. His consulting work enhanced the security of power grids, water systems, and communication networks that form the backbone of national infrastructure. "The threat," Ray explained to federal officials, "is that enemies understand civilian infrastructure vulnerabilities better than we do. Military electronic warfare training helps us think like their attackers." 5 years after the electronic warfare attack, Ray Castellanos continues working night shifts at Riverside Power Station while serving as a national consultant on critical infrastructure protection. His Navy nuclear electronics expertise has enhanced civilian infrastructure security in ways that remain classified. Power plant workers trained in his programs now protect facilities across the country with military-level awareness of electronic warfare threats. His expertise multiplies through every technician who learns to recognize and counter sophisticated attacks, Ray, Agent Chen said during a recent visit. "Your military expertise continues to protect critical infrastructure nationwide." Agent Chen, "That's what service means, using your skills where they're needed most. Navy taught me to protect critical systems. Now I protect civilian infrastructure that keeps the country running." Ray never sought recognition for his military background, never promoted his electronic warfare expertise, never used his heroic defense for personal gain. He simply continued serving through his technical work, bringing Navy nuclear electronics training to civilian infrastructure protection. The electronic warfare attack proved that military veterans bring specialized skills to civilian critical infrastructure that can prevent national disasters. When communities face sophisticated threats, Ray Castellanos represents thousands of veterans who continue serving through technical careers, bringing military expertise to civilian infrastructure that protects national security in ways most people never see. So I ask you, have you ever worked with someone whose military background made them exceptional at protecting critical systems? Someone whose specialized training defended infrastructure you depended on? Share their story in the comments. Because at the Human Stories, we believe the greatest protection often comes from those who continue serving in civilian roles, bringing military expertise to critical infrastructure that keeps our communities safe. Subscribe if you believe military veterans enhance civilian infrastructure security. Share if you've worked with someone whose background protected systems you rely on. And remember, next time you flip a light switch, look twice at who keeps the power flowing. They might be much more than they appear.